You asked for this video, and I'm here to deliver it.
Traptendo.
What is going on, guys? DJ Av here, and today we'll learn how to sample using the Roland MV-1 Verselab. I will show you how to chop samples, how to import samples, and how to use the looper and time stretch. Yes, it can time stretch pretty well. Spoiler alert. But before we get started, I want to give a shout out to two people. One, Boombapart, which has a underrated channel. The link will be in the description box to his channel. He's really dope. And also Dustin, that made a comment on how to make your first beat video for the Roland MV-1, and he gave some pretty dope suggestions. So this is not all me. I gotta give praise to the people that watch this channel and that partake in a lot of this stuff. Thank you so much, guys. So with that being said, I'll weigh in with my pros and cons at the end of things I would like to see changed on this. And guess what? We're gonna struggle together. Let's begin. So I do apologize for the audio quality not being up to snuff. I had to replace my microphone, and so I'm using my Aston Origin microphone, which is far away from my mouth. So that's why it sounds like this, and I don't like it. But let's begin here, starting with this project. And what I'm gonna do is clear a track, because that's the main thing you wanna do first. So press clear. And I'm going to choose the kick track because I don't need it. And the reason why I'm using the drum tracks versus the melodic tracks is of the properties that you get from style mode. We'll get to that point. So I'm going to click on this value knob, hit OK, and it's going to clear the track here. And it's going to ask me what type of track do I want. Do I want a tone track, which will be great for like one-shot sounds like a flute or a lead or anything that you're sampling and you just want to play it chromatically? That's what you would use a tone track for. But I want to use a drum kit track that's like the kit track right here. So go ahead and click on that value knob, and if I hit the kit track, pretty much the same. So now that we've done that, the main thing I want to do now is go to input. What input will do will bring up different options for the MV-1 where you can set the inputs. So I have a line input to my mixer for my turntable, because my turntable is plugged into my mixer and so forth. And I'm gonna sample this vinyl right here, which is Zelda, and it's, you know, copyright friendly. So you can use the Control 3 parameter and go through different inputs. You can use the internal microphone, the built-in microphone, and so forth, but we're going to use the line levels because that's what I need. Okay, so with that, just exit out, and now I can go into shift and the record button, and it will bring up these options right here, which is right now in standby. But how do we get to that? So we're going to hit edit, and then we're going to hit the record button, and then you can get to sample settings. So from here, I can use Control 1 to scroll through different options. I have record trigger on -24 dB, so you can set your threshold kind of traditionally, so that you can get a sample in only when it raises above -24 dB. So that's what that represents. You can go as high as -6. I can set the record to the external wet, so I can set it to, you know, any effects, which I don't necessarily need that. You could do a count in, like a metronome count in, just in case you want to time it in there. And you can set the levels too as well. And I have it on a 100, but I'm not gonna mess with that because it's already the way I want. So exit out, and the next thing I want to do, obviously, is sample. So I'm gonna sample this record here. Find a part. Alright, so I have the part that I want. So shift and record, and you'll enter standby mode. So from here, I'm just gonna press enter, and it's gonna wait for me to press play on whatever source I'm using, which is right now my turntable. I'll tell you why I did 4 seconds versus, like, you know, a long time here, because of what I'm going to show you next. So now you have the sample in there. We can listen to it, preview it by load. Yeah, so we have that in there, and you can do a couple of things here. So I can hit load again, so I can have control over different things like the start and end point. So I can adjust the start and end point to, you know, by these type of increments right here, which I will get into a little later. But I will tell you right now, start point will control whatever is at the very beginning to whatever is at the very end. It will adjust everything at the beginning of the track. So if I was to press load again, all right, so, but you can hold shift and control bigger increments. It'll go faster, and then you can just preview it. So I'm gonna go as far as I can in the start point. Go, keep going until I got it, and so forth. So now that I have that, I can go to the endpoint and adjust there as well. But since this is a tutorial, I'm going to show you a faster way, at least the fastest way as humanly possible, using the MV1 as of right now. So you can adjust the endpoint. I can do normalize, so normalize, execute, and just click down on the value knob, and it will do it, and just preview it. You can hear that the sample got louder. I can do different slices too as well. If you are to use the slice level on the sample editor, I highly recommend using it for like drums, because it chops per threshold, so it wouldn't be great for melodics. So you have two choices, soft and hard. I'm just gonna go forward here, and then you have slice execute. Once you have that choice, you can just chop it up, and then you can export sample too as well. And right now what I want to do is this. So the next thing you want to do, since we already have the sample, let's go ahead and hit a pad. You notice you heard a kick there. Don't worry about that. Just hit OK, and it'll import it on pad 1. Then hit another pad, and continue this process. Now I have the samples on 1 through 8, pad 1 through 8 here. And from here, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna hit OK again, make sure it's in there. Oh, okay, it's in there, so that's fine. You stop the sample by hitting the play button right there too as well. And I can exit out. So there was a big reason why I didn't use the start and end points during the actual sample option process or whatnot using shift and record. I just wanted to drop the samples that I had, or that sample, on the pads. Now, just like on the SP404, you can control the start and end points after the fact. So basically, I just copied everything in there prior, and what I'm gonna do is go into edit and double tap the pad. So now that I have that in here, I'm greeted with a whole bunch of options which I can use. I can go insert phrase copy, which I'm not going to use that, or instrument phrase copy, my bad. Sample edit, so I still have options of using sample edit after dropping the samples in there. And we're going to press down on the value knob, and we're going to explore that. So we have the sample here, and matter of fact, I think it'd be best to go back into instrument edit. Let's go into instrument edit real quick. So edit, double tap that pad, and we're in instrument edit. So I'm gonna click down on the value knob, and you have other options too as well, which if you're asking me about how to edit like instruments inside of Verselab, this is basically how you do it on per pad, that is. You have some pretty decent options that you're probably gonna use. So you have level adjustment, pan, delay send, mute, group, and you'll see that it says off. And right now I have the volume turned down so you won't be able to hear the sample. So won't hear the playback for a very reason. But what I'm gonna do is put it in a group. So I have it in mute group 1. Hit the next pad, mute group 1. Hit the next pad, mute group 1. Hit the next pad, mute group 1. Continue this process I don't need all those. So I didn't put that sample in 7. But either way, it's still good to go. Now I'm just gonna scroll and keep on going through it. You can choose the key offset and fine adjustment and stuff like that. So this sample, if you want, like if you're trying to tone or tune a sample, you can do that. Yeah, you can just preview that way. And then you can just continue to go through. You can do attack, decay, offset. But the biggest one I want you to see is voice. Now, voice is a very good one because you want to control the voicing. Right now it's in multiple. You want to put the voices in single. So it would be like mono. You're starting to see where I'm getting at? And the next thing I want to do, well, I want to do that for all the pads. So and you can also adjust like the envelope mode, no sustain, EQ switch, and so forth. There's some pretty good stuff in instrument edit. But what I want to do here next is this. I'm going to go into sample edit and choose either start. You can adjust the start and end point here. And it's a long process, trust me. So hold shift to get bigger increments and then adjust it the way you want. This is a long process, but this is what you're dealing with when you want to sample in here. So from here, you know, you can go and adjust the endpoint of each and every individual sample that you have in your pads, just in case you want to do that. So the endpoint is about 172,000 plus. So you have a lot of room to play with your start point. I'm only at 20,000 on my start point, so I will adjust it accordingly. And then you can fine tune your samples too as well, just in case you want to do that, and raise the gain, just in case you want to do that. Change the key. You can do a whole bunch in this process here. So moving on from endpoint here, let's go into mode, which is really good. On pad number 8, I actually messed around and put it on reverse. So if you were wondering, you could do reverse. You could do forward. One shot. Reverse 1. And so forth. So what I'm going to do here is just mess with the samples and adjust it. Now that you know all that, it's going to take a minute here. So now that I went through all the tediousness, here's what I got as far as the chops. And that chop in particular is longer and it sounds like it's at a different pitch because it is. I adjusted the pitch of that sample on that one. But yeah, there's going to be one thing that you will encounter, and that's one thing I want to show you right now. So if I hit that pad, I press play, it will stop. But what if I wanted to stop within like the actual chops itself so it doesn't continuously play after the fact? Well, here's the thing that you can do. If I press 6, I press 7, you hear the tambourine interrupt because they're in that same choke group that I set up earlier. What you could do is go into edit, and we're going to select that tambourine sound, and then go and select that sound, go in and instrument edit, and turn that level all the way down. Like just turn it off. And that way it will stop and you'll have that mute, okay? And that will be dope. All right, so let's just lay it out real quick. Inserted the chop in there so that you can hear it. That mute chop. And I guess I'll just follow it up with some drums. Also, another hot tip here, if you have a sample that's keep playing or whatnot, so you want to get rid of it, like you can press shift and play and it will stop that sample. It's like a choke group in its own. So yeah. Okay, so we talked about sample chopping. Let's talk about importing a sample. So it's a pretty easy process. So the first thing you need to do is go into shift and system. And the next thing we're going to do is use the value knob to get to a specific option called storage mode. Click on storage mode. It'll say, please connect USB cable. Connect the USB cable. Boom. The next thing you need to do is just go to your Windows screen or your desktop or wherever and find the MV1. It'll be hosted, and then you'll see your sample area, right? Say Roland MV. Go in here, sample, exported samples. You can set your folder inside of here. What I'm gonna do is just drag and drop some loops inside of here. Boom. It's gonna go through the process of bringing the loops in, and I'll get back to you when it's done. It's done, but I'm gonna move this folder into just the sample folder. I think that would be better. So let me go up a folder here, and yeah, let's sample folder. Let's put it in the sample folder and paste. There we go. So to get out of storage mode, just hit exit and then disconnect the cable. I'm gonna disconnect this cable real quick. Here we go. Hit OK. Now I'm out of storage mode here, and now I guess I can just pull up a sample for you. It's pretty simple. It's just all you have to do is click down on the value knob, make sure you have a path selected. Go into your WAV files, it'll process, export, and then it'll show you your folder that you imported, and then just grab whatever you want in there. So you can pull up your one-shots or whatnot. So let's go ahead and do the WAV file, important, and then apply the knowledge that we just talked about. Last but not least though, there is another feature and I want to talk about it. So to set up a looper track, I'm going to clear this track, hold clear, and then press the instrument tracks 1 and 2 because those are the ones that have access to the looper. Hit OK. And then it will give you different options like tone track, drum track, and then looper track. And it's complete. It says empty clip. So what we're going to do is load in a drum loop. So let's do that. And you'll have access over here. Let's go into my breaks. Wave files. And I can preview what I want by pressing project or project load button. All right, so I like that. Click down on the value knob again. And now it's in there. I have the looper track. So what are the advantages of a looper track? Well, you have time stretch. And as you can see, the BPM of this loop is 160. And I'm at, if I go and press shift and tempo, I'm at 70 BPM. So let's press play and let's hear it. And no, matter of fact, what I'll do is I'll go into tempo and I'll set up a metronome. So what I'm going to do now is just demonstrate the time stretch. Let's go ahead and demonstrate that. This is 82 BPM right here. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind when you bring in a loop, like a drum loop or something like that into, or a melodic loop, make sure that you have it at a certain BPM if you want it to be a certain way, because if I was to play this, I'm going to go into tempo real quick and go into 160. See, when I imported that, it was a little weird and wonky, so I can clear that out and I can demonstrate that. So I have it at 164. So clear track, and I'm gonna hit OK. Boom. And I'm gonna select the looper track again. Then I want to load that sample back in there. So I'm gonna hit enter, WAV file, and go back into my breaks. And then I will find that sample again. import it again. Now let's play it. I'm gonna turn up the metronome real quick so you can hear it. So I gotta go over here to the metronome level. And the metronome. Over here. It's at 182 BPM. So you can do some drum and bass in jungle or new jungle or whatever you want to do inside of the Verselab if you want to work with loops or however your workflow is. That's how you would use the looper. So tell me how you feel about this video. Was it helpful to you? Do you have any other suggestions? Leave it in the comment section of other things that you want taught. I know arrangement will be the next thing. And also I've heard people scream and cry about recording vocals in there. I have something special for that. I want to get into my pros and cons or things I want changed for the MV1 in terms of sampling. Well, sampling on here isn't bad, though I will say if you do sample something like maybe 4 seconds, and holy God, 4 seconds, and that's pretty much all you really need to get a really dope beat across, obviously, it will be a little bit of an issue when you start working with the start and end points. I feel like the start and end points are way too sensitive in the sense that it takes forever to get to a certain part of a chop that you want or a phrase that you want when you are putting it on different paths, because you can have the start and end points be whatever you want once you get the sample on there, but it just takes forever using the start and end points. Unlike something that is a classic machine like the MPC 60 or the MPC 3000, which has start and end points, and obviously most people's turnoff will be that there is no visible waveform, though that's not an issue, especially if you are a SP head, and I'm talking about the 404SX or the A or even the original 404. Like, it's really easy to chop samples on there and use the start and end points, and it gets right to that part of the sample that you want. I think the increments as far as the value need to go up, or just, I don't know, it needs an adjustment in that regard, because when it goes to the endpoint, when you go to the endpoint, it's like a lot of freaking points that you have to adjust to get to a certain part of that. So I think that needs to be adjusted the most, and sample chopping will be fantastic. Just make it like the SP404. Just drop a sample in there, rolling heads over there in research and development, and see how you turn the start and end points. And when you copy it over, and see how fast you can chop it up, and it's pretty fast on the SP series. So yeah, bring that to the MV, please. Oh my Lord, please, just please. Other than that, the experience as far as putting in one shots and all the other stuff, yeah, it's really good. It's really good. I mean, it'd be dope if you could do some type of granular synthesis and make something out of a one shot. And I feel like the ADSRs, as far as the volume envelopes, don't really react the way that it should. And maybe perhaps that's in the tone tracks that you could do that the most. Well, obviously you would use a tone track, but yeah, as far as exploring it, as far as the ADSR goes, it doesn't really feel like they are active. It doesn't really make sense in that regard. Yeah, anyways, tell me how you feel about the Roland MV-1. Overall, it's a really good package, and that's the only weak point that it has as far as like sampling goes, and that can be worked out in one little tweak. But overall, the way that Boombapart does his sampling is that he samples one part at a time and drops it into the pad. So that way you'll just sample a certain second, so you don't have to deal with that nasty start and end point adjustment, which is way too slow. And that's what I mean by sensitive, slow. Like, it doesn't really get to that waveform fast enough. But yeah, try that way, or he might have a tutorial of his own, or I might just do it.